Hello there, Commonwealth from here. Much of Breath of the Wild 2 will take place in the sky. Some, including its opening, will take place on the ground, but another big part will be on the surface we fell in love with in Breath of the Wild. And what should a sequel do about the reused open world? Highlight areas that were accessible but underused until now. In the end of 2020 and beginning of 2021, we detail one of these areas, the Faerun province with its Zonai ruins and main settlement Lurelin village. But the mysterious courage and thunder-loving Zonai, which played no role in the main story of Breath of the Wild, only as part of shrine quests, were not only confined to the south, but also to the north. One of these places was fittingly Thundra Plateau, but a different and far bigger location of later Sheikah adaptation, but which needs new purpose in the sequel, when the Sheikah shrines and the monks within them are gone, is Thyphlo Ruins, which Troll Squad helped me film without the fog. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe to Commonwealth From to be among the 300,000 who are qualified to enter our Switch OLED with game giveaway, less than 9,000 left to go, and press the notification bell so you don't miss any other Zelda videos, including more like this one on Thyphlo Ruins. The northernmost outpost of the Zonai that was most likely built by them, unlike the Lomi Labyrinths which Nintendo Black Crisis has convinced me to believe was not built by the Zonai, but the Sheikah 10,000 plus years ago, who simply filled the Zonai's place in aiding the hero during his quest. Located right above the Great Hyrule Forest with only the border of Hyrule further north and the unknown fate of the Great Deku Tree to the south. This site, much like Faerun, the southern paradise of the Zonai, is filled with religious symbols, only that it was all covered by thick dark fog in Breath of the Wild, as if cursed to keep unwelcome guests away, or prevent us, the player, from exploring this location deeper outside of one of Breath of the Wild's greatest shrine quests, one that now needs to be replaced in the sequel. Obviously, the easiest way to reinvent this massive collection of sacred Zonai ruins, which was readapted by the Sheikah, is to remove the thick fog that has covered it, something that has already been achieved through hacks, and it shows the true majesty and near divine nature of this location, with no goddess statue or Hylian elements in miles distance, which makes it perfect for the sequel, where the main focus is diverted away from the center and out to Hyrule's literal borderlands and boundaries, the caves below and the heavens above. In this arrangement, Thyphlo Ruins blends in seamlessly as a location that could now, after its Sheikah function has come to an end, shine once again as the Northern Zonai chapter stronghold as it once was, with its gigantic moat, one road isolated entrance, town-like structure, and temple at its center. A possible main quest location which will bring us under the surface or up from it into the heavens as teased in the E3 2021 teaser and further through gameplay patterns. One that other NPCs may also visit, perhaps all the way from Lurelin village. Characters who could teach us or at least lead us further into this northern mystery before unlocking whatever this location hides. In Breath of the Wild we will land on the ground from here, but sadly only down into a tiny Sheikah constructed blessing shrine, pardon me, Monketo-wise blessing shrine, but with absolutely nothing else, unless the shrine is placed here for a different reason, as a distraction to what surrounds the entrance to the Breath of the Wild shrine from three sides. Climbable walls, but not any type of walls, but of what appears to have been a central Zonai temple. And as we all know, temples in the Zelda series are often associated with dungeons. In other words, the Sheikah mini-dungeon of a maze which ended with robbing an orb from Hinox and a Sheikah blessing could in the sequel lead to a completely different kind of underground structure that is far bigger than, well, this. Filled with far more traps, enemies, but also proper Zonai rewards, similar to the flamethrower we saw in the second teaser of the game. Well, that and proper puzzles, locked doors, keys to open these, mini-bosses, proper items that can greatly enhance our further quest, and obviously a big bad boss that will after its fall grant us another heart container, bringing us closer back to the elevated and malice-soaked Hyrule Castle and the confrontation against Ganondorf, which no doubt awaits them. The second option is also an entrance as well as an exit, but instead to a dungeon, to a network of underground caves similar to the one that led Link and Zelda to Ganondorf, with its own set of quests, battles and puzzles. What we would find here is unknown, and then I really mean unknown. For what we know, Thyphlo Ruins might be where Link returns back to Hyrule's surface after fighting his way out following his lost first encounter with Ganondorf, without his Master Sword which remained on the ground, or with Ganondorf, but instead with his new companion arm for the sequel. And that's it. Thyphlo Ruins now without the fog, signaling the first of many changes that have been applied to the open world from Breath of the Wild. Now, there are theories that support that the Zonai went extinct and were turned into luminous spiritual stones with Ganondorf's sealing, specifically in times unknown as creating a champion calls them. But from what we know, they might have just gone underground, since why would you otherwise carve out massive underground structures and fill them with your architecture like bridges, columns, and so much more? What I'm trying to get to is that there must have been some planning involved, and then I mean many years on the ground before Ganondorf was forced to rest there for tens of thousands of years. Not only that, but also underground locations, just like we find in our own world with the closest we get to underground cities with an entrance and exit to the surface. Where else would the Zonai set these up but in one of the areas that were controlled by them? After all, the settlements on the ground are surprisingly well preserved for a fallen civilization compared to any other fallen race in Hyrule. And that is likely because the settlements were never conquered and destroyed, but simply decayed after Zonai left the stage that is the surface, leaving behind the cultural and urban centers, which suspiciously are located in the middle of the northern and southern edges of the map of Hyrule. Two areas that had completely nothing to do with the main quest and were not mandatory in order to get the true ending in Breath of the Wild, meaning that the Zelda team wanted to save these underutilized locations for later, which brings me back to the sequel. What if these two locations in the north and south are to serve an urbanization effort in the sequel? After all, the sequel, much like the original, needs deeper side quests. So here's a little experiment. Think Breath of the Wild's best multi-stage side quest from the ground up, and the construction of Tarry. But where we, instead of building something new from scratch, instead of completing said dungeon in the area, begin an effort to create settlements in these well-protected and distant ruins. Bring together the races of Hyrule to not build something new, or reclaim restore settlements that already have the necessary infrastructure in place, but lacks the housing, stores, and inns found in Tarrytown. Obviously, in Breath of the Wild with the darkness covering Typhlo, there was no way to reclaim the ruined settlement, but with the fog possibly being gone in the sequel, this is now a far more likely possibility. Just think of it, because of the moat surrounding Thyphlo Ruins, there's only one entrance inside, but thanks to this one, you can even enter and drive through the entire complex using the Master Cycle Zero. And which other place can only be entered ignoring the air route from one side? Tarrytown. It goes without saying, but Thyphlo Ruins could become another settlement in the sequel, just like it was in Times Unknown. But unlike Tarrytown, which is built next to a former ancient Hylian settlement, namely Torin, this one will be the same settlement with the same name reclaimed. Much like ancient cities that rose to capital status once again in our own world, such as Rome and Athens. Two clear inspirations for the ancient Hylian ruins found in Breath of the Wild, and most likely this sequel. I don't even have to say that Thyphlo Ruins at its height were much bigger than Breath of the Wild's largest settlement, Gerudo Town, and only slightly smaller than Hyrule Castle Town within the walls. With Ganondorf commanding above the lost capital of Hyrule, the people have to look elsewhere for a central settlement, and in this case, Typhlo, without its fog, could be one of the places we frequent the most in the sequel. Rebuilding it could be a requirement within the main quest, or just the biggest side quest of the game, which is unlocked after completing say a dungeon hidden underground as massive stronghold, filled with something that has been lost elsewhere, namely stone structures and defenses. In other words, we should not underestimate the importance of Typhlo, both from a lore, story, and gameplay perspective in Breath of the Wild sequel, as it could serve so many different purposes, ranging from the entrance to a proper underground temple dungeon or another underground Zonai network of caves and tunnels, and or with its fog gone, as Hyrule's next big project after the completion of Tarrytown, making up another settlement that encircles Ganondorf, his castle, and the fallout ruins of Castletown from Hyrule's outer edges, along with Rito Village, Gerudo Town, possibly Zonai Ruins, Lorellan Village, Hateno Village, Kakariko Village, Zora's Domain, Tarrytown, Goron City, and unless it is incinerated, Typhlo's closest neighbor, Korok Forest. All united in their support of Link and the upcoming war against Ganondorf and his combined minions and puppets. And that is my take on what purpose Thyphlo Ruins could serve within the reinvented surface and open-air map of Hyrule, in the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Do you agree with these possibilities, or do you have some options of your own? Then be sure to share your opinion in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed our first Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 theory in 2022, then be sure, if you haven't already, to leave a like, subscribe to Commonwealth Realm, as we are less than 9,000 subscribers away from our big Switch OLED giveaway with Game and press that notification bell, and again for all notifications to not miss any of our many Zelda and Breath of the Wild 2 theories in 2022. Now before we leave, a quick call to action. Because Waikuteru, who made the amazing upscaled version of the Breath of the Wild 2 E3 2021 teaser, needs our help on Discord. His channel has been hit by Nintendo and he needs our support, so go into the link in the description down below and join the action. Last but not least, since this was uploaded in January, the worst ad revenue month of the year, a big thanks goes to all patreon.com/Commonwealth patrons, and in particular our role producer Charles Shash, and I hope that some of you can also join them. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.